It's all over every single government department, program, grant programs, contracts. It is everywhere. And so when we look into a deep dive into this massive problem that's caused America to be $36 trillion in debt, we're going to have to go into all kinds of buckets. And that's how I'll be separating things on the oversight subcommittee on DOGE. We'll be looking at everything from government-funded media programs like NPR that spread nothing but Democrat propaganda. We'll be going into grant programs that fund things like sex apps in Malaysia, toilets in Africa, all kinds of programs that don't help the American people.
First of all, can we discuss, they called it DOGE. Like we're elder millennials and you wanted a fun name for your new project. So you called it DOGE. Second of all, I love the irony of creating an entirely new department in order to combat inefficiency within the government, run by 3 people. It has to be run by 3 people. And if that's not the definition of inefficiency, I don't know what is. But third, and definitely not least important, I'm so glad that we are bringing on Marjorie Taylor Greene into DOGE so that she can defund NPR and get rid of toilets in Africa. And what's even more embarrassing, by the way, is when she referenced sex apps in Malaysia, she was most likely referring to JomCare, which is an app that was created to reduce the spread of HIV and other STDs in Malaysia that was given a $3.4 million grant from the National Institutes of Health. And by toilets in Africa, she was probably referring to the USAID funding for the sanitation programs in Africa. Reduces the spread of disease, brings clean water to people, and creates a sanitary environment. But what even grinds my gears more than any of this, any of the things I've already mentioned, is the fact that DOGE is separate from the government. It's not going to be a government department. It's going to exist privately, outside of the government.
That doesn't sound so efficient.
Well, we don't even know if it's not going to be an office of the government either. From what we've read thus far this evening, it's not going to be inside the government. And so that eliminates any concerns about them having to divest their personal holdings and any of the businesses they run.
They're going to defund government projects. They're effectively in charge and running areas of the government. And they're not even a part of the government. They were not elected to this position. 2 of the 3 have never worked in government. 1 of the 3 should never have worked in government, should still quit her government job. And it's government efficiency that is designed to cut any projects that help people, because that is considered a waste of money in their eyes.
Both of these men have conflicts of interest or have investigations or have massive contracts with the U.S. government, and they will be in a position to cut programs, cut jobs, cut budgets, and at the very least, see where all the money is getting spent. So even if they're not officially inside the government, it feels like a conflict, no?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But the question, too, is, I mean, they're talking, at least Elon Musk in recent weeks was talking about cutting $2 trillion from the federal budget.
Someone who you did not elect, someone who has no experience governing, is going to be making decisions outside of government limits, but decisions about governing situations where he has a personal vested interest to do so. And this is just allowed.
Over $500 billion that's spent every year right now was not even authorized by Congress in the first place. Part of this is exposing for the public the extent of that rot and waste, but then to take steps first through executive action and then laying the groundwork for broader change through legislation as well to rein in that deficit, to rein in that budget. We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government.
You know how lately, especially, businesses will cut 20% of their workforce in order to save money and increase their profits, and everyone within the remaining workforce has to work basically as hard as 2 people because they're not replacing any of those employees that they laid off. But they're paying you the same amount of money. You just have to work harder. And then the CEO ends up making more profit every single year because he laid off 20% of his workforce. That's what DOGE wants to do to the government. They want to run the United States like it's a business. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that think, yeah, get a good businessman in there, run America like a business. It's not a business. The goal, at least in our current capitalistic setup of society, the goal of a business is to make more profit. Now, think of the companies you know in your life. Where does that profit go? It goes straight to the top. Do you think the employees of the company share in the profits? No. They're taken advantage of, they're overworked so that the CEO can make more and more profit every single year. And that's how these businesses are run. The goal of a government, shocker, is to govern and take care of its people. It's not a business, and it shouldn't be run like a business. And even if it was to be run like a business, which again, it's not, and it shouldn't be, why are we picking the worst businessmen in America to run the business of the United States? Every business that Trump has had has been run into the ground and had to declare bankruptcy. Every business that Elon Musk has had has made him unbelievable profit at the expense of his employees. You're not the CEO in the situation where America is run like a business. You're not on the board of directors. You're not on the board of investors. You're one of the employees making just above minimum wage, barely has any benefits, and is working 3 jobs all rolled into one.
A key step to get there, a mass headcount reduction in the federal workforce by identifying the minimum number of employees required at an agency in order to function. Also on the agenda, requiring federal employees to work in person 5 days a week, which could, in their words, result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. If federal employees don't want to show up, American taxpayers shouldn't pay them for the COVID-era privilege of staying home. Another additional potential chopping block number for them is $500 million for public broadcasting and $300 million for, quote, progressive groups like Planned Parenthood. Important to note, Congress authorizes the budget for those programs. I'm Connell McShane. This is the News Nation Political Minute.
Starting to sound like that 20% employee layoff I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video. Also, can we talk about what a red flag it is that this department that is not a part of the government is allowed to eliminate government jobs while not being a part of the government? Because I don't like that. This department is a gift to Elon Musk for how much money he spent on Trump's campaign. That's what it is. It is a gift because it allows him to, at the taxpayer's expense, cut government spending for things that matter in order to benefit large corporations so that, again, at your expense, they can make more money. So I recommend buckling up and tightening your belts, because every public service that you use is in danger. Things that hadn't even crossed your mind that were public services could be taken away. So buckle up.